The Green River Asset Building Coalition is a collaborative. It's actually an informal collaborative of public and private nonprofit agencies, businesses, and volunteers that are working together to increase opportunities for working low to moderate income families achieve financial self-sufficiency. That's a really important mission. We find that communities that have families who are financially self-sufficient usually have a lot of good things happen to them. Our coalition's mission is designed to foster increased financial self-sufficiency for these working low to moderate income families that are in our communities that are represented here tonight. We do that really by focusing in three areas. The first of those areas is to promote increased awareness and utilization of the Earned Income Tax Credit. The Earned Income Tax Credit is sound public policy. It's enjoyed strong bipartisan support for some 35 years, having begun in the administration of President Gerald Ford. It's viewed as sound public policy because it rewards work and effort. And it's an important tool in helping families improve their station in life. Secondly, our coalition devotes a significant portion of its energies to provide free income tax preparation for those same families. Many of you in this room know a whole lot about that, and that's one of the primary reasons we're here to celebrate tonight. The third area of focus in our coalition's mission is to foster asset accumulation. If families are to improve their economic station in life, they must be able to accumulate. And asset accumulation is a component of our mission which warrants greater emphasis, and we're in the process of trying to do that. We have, as I mentioned earlier, been blessed with good support from many segments of the community that made this dinner possible. They also make possible the work of our coalition. Because this coalition is so volunteer-driven, its expenses are rather modest, particularly in the context of what it's accomplished. But we do have advertising, training, and some marketing expenses which are absolutely necessary for this coalition to do its business. And we're grateful for that support. I want to call your attention tonight to page 6 in your program. And I want to just talk a little bit about why we're honoring our volunteer tax preparers, screeners, and greeters, and our site coordinators tonight. If you look on that page, you will see that it contains I guess it's a 7-year history of what this informal collaborative of organizations has achieved. And these things are done with the purpose of moving toward our mission, which is to help these families improve their station in life. We began in the year 2005. Our coalition's volunteers prepared successfully 305 returns. You see the numbers as you look horizontally across the page. In the year in which we've just completed here on April 18th, our volunteers successfully, correctly prepared and filed 3,333 returns. Now, that's a big number. And thank you. This is not a simple undertaking. These families received in 2011 nearly $1.7 million in earned income tax credit refunds. Total refunds was $4,769,000 or so. Okay, and that included the EITC inside of that. Those dollars are really important for those families. Many of these families, this is the largest amount of money they'll have at one time in their household budget. They have, typically these refunds run on average $1,500 to $1,600. Some of them don't get refunds. Some of them are substantially larger. We had 1,808 of these returns use direct deposit, and we'd like to get that number up a lot higher. We believe, conservatively, that these families retained collectively an additional $600,000 because they did three things happen. They didn't have to pay for preparing and filing. Those are two separate fees. And they avoided the rapid refund loans, which are aggressively marketed and pushed by many of the commercial preparers. So this is really important work that our volunteers are doing, and we're really, really proud of what's happened here. It's remarkable. Our volunteers are really the heart and soul of the Green River Asset Building Coalition. Program, you'll see that this segment calls for us to have what we call volunteer reflections. In the past, we've often asked our site coordinators to come forward, and if they so chose to do so, and talk a little bit about what happened there. It's usually a couple of minutes or so, but those insights are really, really appreciated. Well, this year, it was suggested that we ask volunteers who assisted those site coordinators to come forward. And we were blessed to have a few of them say yes, that they would come up. And so what you're going to have right now is a short period here where some of our volunteers are going to come forward, and they're going to make some comments about why they perhaps did what they did and what it was like, and you'll find out, okay? And they'll come in the order in which they are in the program. They include tonight Ben Juergens, who's with Old National Bank in Henderson. Ben lives in Evansville, and we're the beneficiary of his incredible volunteer service in Kentucky. Carol Millay volunteered for more than 1 year, to be sure, over at OCTC. Dan Monar is going to talk. Jeannie Penrod, who's been a longtime volunteer of ours with the Ohio County Career Center. Will Storm from St. Pius, the 10th Catholic Church, and Scott Waldy from Hancock County Career Center. So Ben, if you'll come forward, and then when Ben finishes, the next one of you will come on up.
Good evening. My name is Ben Juergens, as Keith said, and beginning what I want to do is go through a few statistics, and then I'll get into why I volunteer. First of all, like I said, we're out of the Henderson location. This is our third year that we've been operating. We're at our second year at the Housing Authority this year, which worked as a great site for us in Henderson. A couple of stats is total number of returns filed by our volunteers. We went from last year of a number of 245 to this year 336, so a little over a 37% increase just over last year. The refunds, we actually went up 42% over last year, from a little over 273,000 to this year at 389,000. We did have 114 filers qualify for the earned income credit, and also the same number qualifying for the tax credit. We tried to focus our refunds into the direct deposit this year, as last year we struggled with that a little bit. So we did jump up 43% this year and filed in direct deposit 143 of the returns this year. So we were very pleased with that number. And then to our number of volunteers, this was a great year for us in Henderson. The first year that we did this, we had 3 people volunteer. So we were very busy with the number of returns that we did. So we were very happy to have a large number this year. Out of the 3 years we've been there, we've had 3 people do those for each of the years. People that have been there 2 years or 4 of our filers. And then this year we had 15 new filers or preparers to help us this year, including students from our high school, which I believe we have one here this evening. From a few retired to some bankers, etc. But we've jumped our total number to 22 this year compared to 8 in 2010. So we're very happy with that. And the number of hours that we logged at our VITA site this year was a little over 400. So we were very happy. Our hours in Henderson were Tuesdays and Thursdays from, I think, 5 to 7, and then Saturdays from, I believe it was 9 to 12 or 9 to 1. So we weren't there every day, but we did put a lot of hours in while we were there. We did open a few checking accounts this year on site. That was one of our goals to try and do, as we're opening, and I'll go ahead and mention this, next Tuesday we're going to have a press conference in Henderson to bring Bank on Henderson. I know you've probably heard of Bank on Owensboro and et cetera, that you see some flyers on your tables, but we're excited to launch Bank on Henderson starting next Tuesday, so you look for that in the media if you're able to. So we tried to spin that with the VITA site, and we did open a few accounts, like I said, on site. So we're hoping that next year we can take the momentum with that and bring it forward. And as far as why I volunteer, and I know most of the other volunteers that we have in Henderson do this, is from a personal standpoint, seeing the faces on the individuals when you show them amount of money that they can save without paying a fee for what we're doing for them is really what makes me do it each year. We've had a girl this year, I believe, medical expenses in the amounts of the tens of thousands of dollars due to some cancer that she'd had. I think she was 24 years old. Able to show them the thousands of dollars that we were able to put back in their pocket without having to pay, $400 or $500 to have their tax returns done. She actually cried when we presented this amount to her. And seeing us being able to help people to that level and seeing the smiles on their faces that they can take that money that they've worked hard for all year and put it back in their pocket and give that money back to their family and the community that they live in is really what drives it for me, I know, and most of our volunteers. I think it's great seeing our young high school students in Henderson for the first year this year join us to do preparing. It's great to see what our young individuals are looking at doing as they grow up and seeing the amount of community service they want to put back into the community where they live. So those are the kind of things that really inspire me to keep volunteering. And I know next year we're going to bring in larger numbers and have more volunteers. And I look forward to a bigger and better year in 2011 or 2012. So my name is Ben Juergens with Old National, and that's our story in Henderson.
Your program says Dan Molnar is coming up. He is the better-looking guy down here at the big table here. We're from the Muldraw Methodist Church in Meade County. This is my first year doing it. This is Dan's second year, Helen's second year, Kenneth's first year. I bet to Dan and Helen, it feels like the Meade County area did 2,500 of those 3,300 returns because Kenneth found himself headed down to Fort Campbell in March, and I had to take off from the tax center at the beginning of March. So Dan and Helen, thank you for picking up our slack. I did the VITA program in 1989 when I was a lieutenant in Germany, and I remember it was a great satisfaction seeing a soldier getting his tax return, normally a 1040 EZ, done by me as opposed to cheap Charlie outside the gate in Germany for $60. And I apologize if any of you out here are professional tax return preparers, but it irks me to see somebody pay a lot of money to get a simple return done. And that's the driving force behind what made me want to volunteer this year. Used to be in the Army, when you got paid, you'd report to the pay officer. He'd give you your cash. Then the next guy you go to was the guy selling savings bonds, and you'd have to buy your $50 savings bonds. There's so many times that I wish when a person got their tax return done, they saw that refund amount on the TaxWise program, I wish I could have marched them to that savings bond person and said, now buy your savings bonds and start saving for, a rainy day. I think some of them probably did, but if they didn't, at least they saved money by all of us doing their returns for them instead of H&R Block down the street. But it was a great season for me. I loved it, and I would do it again. And if we could be open 24 hours, I would, like to do it. It's just a great satisfaction to see the look of gratitude on people's faces as they see that number turn from red to black in the TaxWise program. So, Dan, thank you for letting me be a part of it. And for GRABC, thank you all very much. And whoever supported it, thank you so much. And anyhow, y'all have a great evening, and we'll see you next year.